Rise and shine, it's time for D is for drama.
D is for drama.
I'm your host, Shannon D, and today we are joined by the one, the only, Jakey Tuesday.
Oh my gosh, I'm back. Shannon.
He's back.
Shannon.
It's been too long.
It's been too long. I was thinking about this on the drive over. The last time I saw you was the last time I recorded.
No,
Yeah, December, right? Yeah.
That's LA for you folks. We really don't get around much out here.
Well, you live south of the hills, so that's just like I might as well walk through fire.
Exactly.
I just don't do it anymore.
No, and I'm not going up there.
That's your loss. We have ample parking.
I know.
And a lot of AMCs. We have a lot of AMCs. I got on A-list. Are you on A-list, Shannon?
Is that where you can get unlimited?
I can go to three movies a week. Got a 3 movies a week. Free plug for AMC A-list. I do it all the time.
Someone was just pitching me this yesterday.
It's a big cult.
I probably should, but I just don't see myself doing it.
Once I got it, I just kept seeing movies. Okay. I'm doing a thing this year where I'm trying to watch 300 movies. My rules are, not at the theater.
My God,
I can count ones at home, but my rules are I can't rewatch a movie, and like obviously I can, but I can't count it to the total of 300.
Oh, okay. It has to be brand new.
I can have seen it before, and then I log it on Letterboxd, and my goal is just like I realized how much background TV I was watching, just throwing on like old Always Sunny or American Dad or whatever. Oh my God, sports shouting is like whenever I'm working or sending off emails, I just put on sports shouting in the background, and it's just the perfect white noise of like people in suits just shouting about a game, and something about that is just so like perfect, like this is very calming, and I'm not paying attention to anything they're saying. It is. It's weird.
Whenever we would come and record at your place, it was always on.
There was always sports
shouting.
And
I have to say, it was not very calming to me.
No, but
I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Why are they screaming?
It's kind of like getting into a hot bathtub. It's just like, ooh, that's very hot. But once you get used to it, it's like, this is nice. They're so worked up about this silly game.
It kind of makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah,
because you're like,
I'm
calm. I don't know what their deal is.
Just realizing how much media I was consuming that way. So now I'm trying to just, when I am consuming media, I want it to be with more intent and paying attention. And like, I've seen so many bad movies this year because sometimes.
What's the worst?
I don't. What's the one with Blake Lively and the Justin guy? It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us.
That was a horrid movie. That is one of the worst films I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the absolute shit show that came out of that sack of raccoon garbage.
Yeah, I don't know that it would have been good even if she didn't take over. I think
that I don't understand how the story itself is insane. My favorite part of that movie was Jenny Slate just like pulling this train with her teeth. Like, I am going to make this as good as I can. I am Jenny Slate, and I am lovable. And I'm going to be lovable in this no matter how batshit insane this plot is.
She tried.
But that was probably the worst one. What have you seen recently? Putting you on the spot.
Probably nothing. No, I don't know. I'm more of like a TV watcher.
Sure. Have you watched Righteous Gemstones yet?
I've seen the first 2 seasons, I think.
They
I need
just
to
wrapped
catch
up.
back
I love that show so much.
It's done?
Yeah, they just finished up.
My mom texted me the other day and she was like, have you watched Righteous Gemstones? I just saw Walton Goggins' penis.
It's out there big time.
I was like, well, I guess I have to watch then.
Uncle Baby Billy Goggins' character in that has infected me in a way, and thank God Jackie thinks it's funny because I can't stop talking like him.
Yeah.
I just like, come on, Schna. Trying to make the big bucks. Something about that voice has just infected me in a way where like I'm doing this in the car on my way to sales calls for work, like to hype myself up.
To hype himself up. And that leads us perfectly into our topic for today. Wow. It's like you never left.
Smooth. Haven't lost the touch.
No, you haven't. But yeah, Jake, you've been absolutely crushing it this year.
That's what they tell me.
That's what you tell me. So I don't know. Could I believe it?
That's sales, baby. No, I thought that this would be an interesting topic coming back to the show because the last project that we were on, it was a pretty time-consuming thing for us, and I was splitting time between my job and that show. And it was doable, but I was definitely at a max capacity. So once leaving that project and being able to completely focus on my day job, I've been able to find a lot of passion for it. And I think creatives or people who have worked in creatives, there's always this little bit of self-loathing when you go into a job that's traditionally non-creative, because it's just like, oh, this isn't art.
Yeah.
I'm a sellout. My art. Why? What is this? What does this mean? Why does it matter? And once you can kind of recognize that whatever it is about creativity and telling stories and making stuff that is an expression of that creativity, you can find ways to do that in anything. And sort of, I think part of it for me, I've been in my current position now for just over 3 years now, which in cannabis sales is kind of like, it's a tired joke, but like it is dog years. It's like most people, especially in sales, and this is true of a lot of sales today, it's a lot of hot potato. You go somewhere usually for about a year, you do your thing, and then a better opportunity opens up, better pay, whatever, and you jump on to the next thing. Or you're not getting it done, and the company just, like, I think that this is more true of management in sales. You kind of get promoted or get hired to later be fired.
So not a lot of job security.
But the part that I've found a lot of joy and passion in my job for is being a part of the community that I grew up in, and being able to go to these small businesses, which most of them are. I do have a couple of, like, you know, big weed shops, but a lot of them are just mom and pop operations, small teams, small groups behind them, and getting to be one of the people that my buyers love doing work with. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got for sales, and I think it's applicable to almost any situation you're in life, is be the mayor. Walk in, bam, put your energy out. Don't, like, you know, be necessarily super loud or whatever. Just be an authentic version of your biggest self when you walk into places. Because being big, it took me a long time to accept this, but if you're big and you're sincere about it, you make space for other people to do the same thing. It's, some people will shrink away from it, but most people feel empowered when they see you being that authentic self.
I love when, like, you're in that gregarious mood. Like, it's the best.
And
like, whenever we're at parties.
You do that exceptionally well. I think that you win the room every time you walk in. I think that you have well, that's something that we have in common.
We're battling it out. Who can win the room?
Most of the time, I think that approach, if it is authentic to who you are, and it's different for everybody. Some people can walk in cool and alluring and mysterious and a little reserved, and that brings people in, and that's still in a way being big.
I know that mysterious vibe. I've never been able to conquer that one.
I don't like mysteries.
A little bit of an oversharer.
I don't like mysteries, and I don't like riddles. They're just jokes that aren't funny.
Exactly.
Just tell me the punchline. Let's just get to it.
And actually, those people, though, I kind of feel insecure around them, because I'm like, well, they kind of seem really cool, but I'm also just trying to win over their approval so much. And then I'm like, why am I trying to win their approval so much? That's
kind of, I'm down for people who have a little bit of a mystique and allure, but when it's somebody who's basically making you sell yourself to them and just, like, not giving you anything to work with, that's where it's kind of like, okay, bye.
Forget it.
I'd rather go have a conversation with somebody, not just keep trying to get a conversation going here.
Yeah. So a lot of times I think that they don't even realize that they're doing it, but then I think there are some people that know.
They know. Being a little coy.
Well, and they would not be good salespeople.
That's always, it's funny because this is a job where when I tell people what I do, and, you know, just like what my day-to-day is, it's a lot of meeting people for the first time. It's a lot of shaking hands. It's a lot of rejection. And people, it's kind of like when I was doing stand-up, people always say, like, oh, I could never do that. That seems that's so anybody could do sales. And I wholeheartely believe that. And even as comfortable as I am doing it now, it took me forever to get comfortable walking into new accounts, like doing the, like, oh, where's the manager? Who do I talk to about this? Because they see probably a dozen people like me every single day, all trying to do the same thing. So some people have a very short fuse for it. It's very common to just get, like, a bullshit email when you ask for the contact for the buyer, and it'll just be like info@shopname@hotmail.com.
Right.
And it's like, okay, cool. No one's checking that inbox for the last 10 years. But you kind of just have to keep showing up and catch the right person at the right time.
It's very vulnerable.
Yeah, it is very vulnerable. And I think that the reason people think they can't do it is because of social anxiety. But once you break the ice for yourself and you kind of get to this point where the thought of being rejected doesn't bother you anymore, you're untouchable. I can go in. I'm politely persistent. If I go in, I get a no from a shop, I probably won't come back to them again for 3 to 4 weeks under the pretense of just like, hey, it's my job. I got to stop in here. I got to tell you what we're offering.
Right.
Or if I have a solution to the no that they gave me in the first place. Because
Gotcha.
you don't like the whole like, I hate never take no for an answer. If a salesperson tells me they're a never take no for an answer person, immediate red flags. I don't want to hang with you. I don't want to do the socializing thing. That's not true.
Yeah.
No's a perfectly viable answer in all situations. And I think that rejection of it from salespeople is such an immediate, just like switch off. Like now you're really going to get told no.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a turn off.
Even if it works, you're building the entire relationship on, I annoy you. I'm just going to persist on you until you give me what I want. And they hate doing business with you. So you're never going to maximize that potential.
Wow. The point you were just making leads us perfectly into our first story.
Oh boy.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was shopping in my local appliances store for a new refrigerator. They sell everything from refrigerators to ovens to computers, and they're all in different parts of the store.
That's a Best Buy. That's for sure a Best Buy. You can call it a Best Buy. I used to work there.
He goes, so in this big store, let's creatively call it Big Store, they have kiosks for other stores inside them. They're open plan and they've got their own desks and checkouts. I'm wandering around Big Store looking at fridges when this woman from a phone company kiosk comes over and asks me if I need any help. I say, no thanks, just looking. She says, okay, and to let her know if I need any help. So I'm still looking at fridges, and then not 5 minutes later, she comes back, asks if I need anything, and once again, I say no. I call my girlfriend to tell her that they have the fridge that we would like in stock and asked if she definitely wants it. I decide while I'm waiting to do a bit of window shopping. I walk over to the game section. No intention of buying anything from this area, just want to have a fun browse. Then bam, the phone company lady sneaks up behind me. Her kiosk is a good 600 feet away from the game area, so it's not like I accidentally walked into her turf or anything. She goes, hi, I see you're looking at the Nintendo Switch. Christmas is coming up. Are you interested? We have some great deals. I politely laugh, say it does look pretty cool, but no thanks. And I reiterate that I do not need any help. And I will ask her if I do. I expect her to leave again, but no. If you sign up for our phone plan, you get a free Switch. Does that sound exciting? I tell her I recently got a new phone, which wasn't even a lie. I've had it for like a month. And she straight up responds with, yeah, but you can have two. Just give the other two a friend or something. I'll walk you through the details. Just come over to my kiosk. I firmly say, no, thanks. I'm just looking. Then she goes, well, I heard you on the phone earlier. You can afford a new refrigerator up front. So a contract is nothing. It's just tiny installments. A fridge is much more expensive. This is much cheaper, and you get a Switch to take away today. It's barely anything. Feeling thoroughly weirded out that she was listening to my conversation, I tell her that it's none of your business as to what I can afford. I don't want a new phone, and you put me off from getting a Switch, whether it be from your phone company or this big store. Yes, I'm buying a new fridge. That's up to me, and I don't plan on leaving with anything else. Bye now. And I begin to walk away feeling irked, but she doesn't stop there. She follows me through the store and asks, oh, I assume you're paying for the fridge with the big store card so you can pay for installments too then. I turn around and ask her what makes her assume that. And she says, well, it's just that if you can't afford a Switch up front, then you'll probably be buying your refrigerator monthly too, so you don't get into debt. This was when I got really annoyed. I didn't yell or get all up in her face or anything. I just glared at her and said, that's none of your fucking business now. Fuck off. And sped walked away so she wouldn't follow me. I don't know if she tried. I didn't look back. She did yell, how rude. That was so rude. There was no need for that after me. And I felt fucking horrible. It put a real damper on the visit, and my girlfriend and I ended up just ordering the fridge online. I considered emailing the phone company's head office or our local big store with a complaint, but I'm worried in case she was just doing what management told her to do, and that me swearing would have put me in the wrong. I'm not sure. Should I email them?
I don't think that there's anything wrong with swearing at that point.
Yeah.
You are being stalked and harassed. That is a perfect time to
Crazy.
throw a fuck out there. And I do think that I like their instinct here where they're reading, okay, this might be management, because that was my first thought at the start of it, of like, sounds like she was trained to handle this. And I don't know what it is about phone sales. I don't know what it is that they're like doing behind the scenes to motivate people, but they are dogs. They just keep coming for you if they think they even have a shot. But it is a wild pitch to go with, okay, you don't want to switch. Got it. You don't want to switch. Got an idea for you. You sign a contract with me, I get you the Switch for free.
Yeah.
And you get the phone that you didn't want either. Now you get two things you don't want.
Give it to a friend.
That's insane. Like, that's the kind of I have a thing in my head when I hear this kind of sales, which is just like, I owe good money to bad people. I need this. You've got to sign. They're gonna kill me dead. Like that kind of desperation is something that like I've never approached any job like that.
It truly does feel like it's life or death for this woman. The desperation is oozing off of her.
It's crazy.
He wasn't even showing interest in the phone company either.
And she goes to negging once she's past a certain amount of no's of like, well, broke boy, you gotta pay. You're gonna pay for your fridge installments, huh? Because you can't buy a Switch up front. Like, it's wild. That jump to, I'm getting rejected, so I'm gonna make you feel bad, and maybe that'll get you back in the thing. But that is what was happening, at least from my read of what we just saw described there. The fear of rejection was winning out with her, and she couldn't just cut her losses, recognize, I'm not winning with this one, and I learned in retail when I was working at Best Buy, which I'm almost positive was because they have cell phone
they do.
They have I think it was like Samsung had their own thing at the Best Buy I was at. And if somebody gives you the no, save yourself some time and move on to the next one.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Like, the fear of rejection kind of thing is like, how are you not fearful of looking like a fucking idiot?
They get the blinders on, right? They just get this tunnel vision of, it's just like, I can still win this. I can still make this a success. I can still get the yes.
Yeah.
And like, it is the thing that I like about my current role is that not being in the retail space, I can come back around to people and I can keep trying politely in a way that's not going to irritate them. Retail, you got one shot. You got one shot to make that opening window. And even if they give you a soft no, maybe they come back to you later that week, but it's not up to you if they do or not.
Right.
And it's still like the fact that she's following him around different departments and everything else.
The pressuring is like the worst sales tactic.
Oh, yeah.
It's so awful. Like, for somebody who I have worked a little tiny bit in sales, but as a customer mainly, like, I am so put off by salespeople who pressure me.
Yeah.
Because then I'm feeling like so upset. Like, I can feel my like blood like going to my head and like start sweating and being like, oh, okay, well, I guess, like, and then you don't know how to say no without like hurting their feelings or like, hurting their ego, or you're wanting to fucking curse at them, which I don't want to do to people.
Right. Here's what you do. Put your AirPods in while they're talking to you. Very visibly turn the volume up super loud, like show them the screen so they see you doing it, and then go, you're bad at this. You're bad. And I'm not buying, not because you're bad at your job, because you're a bad person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave now. Where's your boss? I want to tell them that you're a bad person.
And just make a scene.
Just make a huge scene. That'll set them right. They're not going to try that high pressure business.
You hear that, anymore. Folks? That's the way to do it.
When not the last retail job. One of the most impactful retail jobs I had, I started as retail employee and then got promoted up to manager. And it was this really I've told you about it before, the shop at the end of the pier in Malibu. Super like basically like
$100 candles.
The $100 candles. And then we had a candle that it was huge. It was like, if you're listening to this, it was like a big drum of a candle. But that costs either $225 or $275. I can never remember which one it was.
Shit. Can you imagine?
But I sold a ton of those things, and I did it through zero pressure. I basically just, like, if somebody commented about how nice the shop smelled, because we had one lit and going the entire time, it's like, oh, actually, that's this candle here. We have them available for purchase over there. And I almost make it seem like I didn't care if you bought it or not, because I honestly don't. Yes. I don't care if you buy one or not. But that kind of, especially in like high-end lifestyle retail, where
Mhm.
nothing that you're purchasing here is something you need, it's something you want.
Yeah.
And once you get people to think, I want that, it's already done. You might have
Mhm.
to talk them through it a little bit. But that was kind of, once I became manager, that was sort of my Mr. Miyagi thing with the younger people that we had hired who had never worked anything close to sales before, where
Mhm.
I would tell them on their first day, walking them through the store, we'd get to that candle, tell them the price, and the reaction every time is like, does anybody ever buy those? And I would, at times when that happened, I would just pick a random customer and usually sell one to that person
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
and it was, again, no pressure, no like, you need this. Quite the opposite of like, isn't this lovely? Think
Yeah.
about your home smelling like this. I got really good at selling them to Midwestern dads who this was like not their scene at all, and they'd be
Uh-huh.
waiting to like get sat at the restaurant or whatever, and I can see their wife holding their place in line or whatever. And they see the price and they make some joke about it. I come over and just like, brother, are you ready to buy the last damn candle you're ever gonna buy? But just kind of do like yeah, brother, let me walk you through. She's gonna flip for this here candle. See these
Yes.
wicks here? These wicks burn slow. That's a big old drum of a candle. And the next time when she finally does burn through that candle and she says, I want another candle, you say, honey, I bought you a lifetime worth of candle. I'm sorry you burned through it already.
Well,
That's
I'm sold.
joking around, but
How long would it last?
it depends on how
How
long you
long
light. If
you're
you burned it all
lighting
the
it?
time, like we would light it 8 hours a day the whole time the shop was open, and we'd go through one like every 5 days. So that's like a lot of hours if you think
Mhm.
about it like that. But
Yeah.
that job was just really informative to me of just making it an experience for people. And I honestly prefer selling to customers than selling to buyers, because buyers, there's less razzle dazzle. You're not putting on as much of a show. It's more about connection
Mhm.
and building trust. But like, I do
Yeah, you
kind of
kind of want to
miss.
become their friend, right?
Exactly. And I would do that with retail too. And even at Best Buy, I would never really worry about selling them something unless they were specifically asking me about it. But even then, people don't want to feel like you're bullying them into doing something you want them to do.
Yeah.
You want to be their friend. You almost like, I would almost do the thing of like a treat yourself attitude of like, if they're
Mm,
choosing between a cheaper or a more expensive thing, of like, you deserve the nice one. I
yes.
can tell you want the nice one. Don't deny yourself. It's $120.
Totally.
It's
And that shit
$120
works
price
for
difference. Yeah,
me.
that's
Definitely.
we kind of want to be encouraged into that, where it's like, if you
Yes.
want something, having that little devil on your shoulder just being like, you deserve it.
Exactly.
Get it.
Yes.
Get it.
Not the devil that's like bullying you
Exactly.
into getting
Or
it.
like shitting on the cheaper one is always like, I feel like that's always a bad way to go too, where they
Mm.
just spend a lot of time telling you like, oh, this
It's
is better
really
value. They
transparent.
make it more about them deserving it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need to, like, as a salesperson, you want to act like you're their friend. It's like shopping with them
But I
or
don't
something.
act like I'm their friend. If you're talking to me, I am your friend. I'll make that
Yeah.
as authentic as possible. And if I didn't like dealing with a customer, I wouldn't help them. That was always, and that, there is a little bit of big guy privilege there, because I have had a lot of jobs where I just like at Best Buy, I refuse to push the credit card on people unless I had some reason to believe that it wasn't predatory, because they are very predatory with those cards. That is like, you are trained to try to hard sell everybody you can on these credit cards. And I just never did it. The only time I would is like, we would have parents come in and try to help their kids' credit score get started by opening up a credit card for them here to do small purchases or whatever. That's fine. Like that's a moderate thing. But then you have people coming in whose credit card is like, whose wallet is bursting with credit cards,
Oh,
and you know that they're
yeah.
like balancing debt across all of them.
Then you're like becoming predatory.
Right. And there is a way to, there actually, if you want to get into it, there is a way to have a ton of credit cards across a bunch of stores and it works out. But I don't think many people are doing that. Most people aren't savvy enough to work that system to their favor. And it would be something that got brought up on performance reviews with me. And I would just look managers dead in the eye and say, I'm not doing it. Look at every other stat I have. I'm ahead of the shop. Like, don't, like, kind of very short of just like, don't come at me with this.
Yeah.
And I've done that in other jobs too, where kind of having the presence that I have and just the benefits and the privileges of being a dude and being a big dude at that, I have been able to just sort of draw a line in the sand where I think a lot of other people even if they had the confidence to do it, might have pressure put back on them because the person in power would feel they could exert their power on that person. Where most people that have been my bosses don't feel like they can push me around. They feel like they kind of have to work with me and get it there. So I am acknowledging that that's privilege that I have, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoy using, where you can just be like, nah, I'm not doing that. That is a dopamine rush that's very hard for me to get anywhere else. Just telling your job of like, yeah, I'm not doing that part. I'll do the rest of it, but I'm not going to do that part.
Yeah, I don't know if this woman is getting, like you were just saying, pressured by management.
I thought that until she started following them around other departments. That's where, unless you have like the world's worst manager, or she might be the department manager.
Yeah,
that's the other thought.
I kind of feel like she's specifically going to that gaming section though, because the phone company offers the Nintendo Switch.
Has the bundle, which is such a weird bundle to have. Like, hey, do you want to make a commitment to a phone company? Here's a Nintendo Switch. It's on the way out.
I have to give her credit though. It must be really difficult to get like new customers because people usually have a phone company already, and why would they want to change? They would need like a sweet ass deal.
Yeah,
she's not doing it the right way.
No, and I think too there's a fallacy that's really present in marketing right now in any industry, where there's this idea that the customer is coming in wanting to be sold to, and the way that the internet works, like how did you decide your last phone contract? Like, which carrier how did you decide doing that?
Well, I do remember I ended up getting a new phone number. This was like 2020 because they offered like to give me the phone for free if I like changed my number or something.
Who's
like
your carrier?
that. At that time it was Sprint, but now I'm with because I switched over to Max's because I finally got off my parents' phone plan and then just switched over to my partners. And that's how you do it, ladies. But now we're with Verizon.
I went with Verizon myself just because the coverage in Southern California is really good, and I need that for my job. Like I travel all up and down the coast, and there's a lot of dead spots, so I just need as much access to phone signal as possible. But you made that decision not off of going into a store and being sold to. You have the internet accessible to you. You're able to look at your options, compare plans, and obviously jumping from your parents to Max's plan, that's factoring into it too, right? So this idea, I feel like marketing and sales can sometimes enter this cult territory where they live in this bubble where we can change people. We can make people want our thing. In reality, you probably can't. They're making these decisions before they walk into your store.
Yes.
Like there probably is some, I don't want to say chumps. There's probably some swayable people that come in there every now and then that, you can bump your numbers up a little bit there. But I do get frustrated with this idea that the old ways don't work anymore, and people aren't walking into the fridge section at a Best Buy. That might be an exception here because, like, who knows about fridges? But you probably did some homework before a purchase like that and know what pricing is going to look like before you walk in there.
Well, and it really is such a tough job for this woman because, when you're going to Best Buy, you are going for usually a purpose. And so I think the people who are the salespeople in the refrigerator section have a pretty good,
Those cats know their stuff. I remember talking with those guys. This bad boy right here can fit so much pasta in it. I don't know fridge specs, but imagine I just said a bunch of specs about fridge.
Yeah. And you can up people in that way because that's usually what they're coming there for. People don't go to Best Buy or big name brand stores for phone contracts. Like that's honestly putting them at a disservice that they even have people working there. And then they get fucking desperate as shit because they probably never make any sales. I wonder if this woman has tried every other tactic and then it's like, all right, let me just throw this up against the wall and see if this sticks. I'm just gonna harass the fuck out of this person.
I'm gonna corner you.
Yeah.
I worked at one of my least favorite jobs I ever had. And any anecdote I share today is previous roles that I had, obviously, in good conscience, just talking about stuff that's already happened. But it was still in cannabis, and it was a previous company I was at. And this company didn't offer discounts. It didn't offer promotions. It didn't offer anything competitive that everybody else in the space was offering to make itself appealing to buyers and customers. And we had this meeting where the people, the people at the top of the ladder were really drawing a hard line of like, we're never going to do discounts. We're never going to do promotions. Our product is too good for that. We don't need that because our product is so good. And I just kind of lost patience because it had been weeks of this, of us trying to get something to work with. And I just put my hands down on the table and said, cool, so can I expense the taser that I'm going to go into shops with and force them to buy our product with? Because that's the only option you're leaving me with.
Wow, that's iconic.
Yeah, that was
Did that
not
go over well?
No, it didn't. I was not the best cultural fit at that particular organization. But again, I think that like you do have to stick to your ethics, and you have to, if you can't do that in all situations, it's going to be harder for you to be happy with how you're doing your job. I don't think that applies to sales necessarily. That's anything where you're working with other people to find the best solution. So where she's at, I'm sure she's under an immense amount of pressure to get some numbers, because in those environments, like I remember after my first month at Best Buy, I got a talking to about like, you got to get your numbers up, and they really make you feel like you're like, oh shit, I'm on the chopping block. I got to get to it.
It's the problem with sales. It's like, it's just so much pressure all the time to reach your numbers. And a lot of times these management is not setting up their employees for success.
The best day in sales is at the end of the month when you've hit your goal. And the worst day in sales is the first day of the next month when that number goes right back to zero and you got to do it all over
and they're
again.
one day apart. So it's quite the roller coaster.
You can enjoy
drop.
it for exactly one afternoon. You got one afternoon of like, haha, did it. Next morning, fuck, I got to do it all again.
Brutal.
But that is just, you know, everything has its ebbs and its flows and its positives and its negatives. But the type of sales that this woman is doing, like selling contracts, I'm so glad I don't have to do that. I've always thought I would be good at selling cars, though. I feel like, I think partially because I wouldn't take it seriously. Like if I won the lottery tomorrow, I might get a job at a car lot for a month.
Yeah,
just to see how many and like no intention of doing a good job of it. Just like tell people wondrous things about cars. It's like, yeah, no, this one, shoot, that one can fly. I bet there's a button in there
you
that
just
does
make
it.
shit up.
Yeah, just lie. I don't care. I won the lottery. Fire me. But I won't like lie about safety or anything. You know.
So if Jake Davis won the lottery, his first thing he wants to do is become a car salesman.
I would probably like wait until I got bored doing rich people stuff, whatever that is. You know, caviar boats and.
Why selling cars though?
I don't know. It just seems fun. Like I know it's not. I know car sales is incredibly stressful, and like that is a shark pit. Like it is a very, very, very stressful side of sales.
But if the stakes were low.
If the stakes were low and I had nothing to lose, I could do that for 2 months and probably get some yucks out of it.
Yeah.
just for the experience. But having to do that, like, and actually, I've met a lot of car salesmen who make really good money. You can do very well for yourself, but you do have to kind of enter into a dark side of sales that I'm not particularly fond of.
Negotiations and
negotiations is like,
but we'll get there. We have a story about that.
Yeah, we got that.
But do we think they should email?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, she's following you around the store. That's unsafe.
Listening to your conversations.
That's unsafe for her too. You're lucky that you picked somebody who's reasonable and just told you to fuck off. Like,
honestly.
You can get somebody. You meet unhinged people in retail very often.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You become a therapist in retail. Like people, if you get the wrong person, just like, especially when I was bud tending and like working at a dispensary, people would just come in and you just be like, oh, so what are we looking for today? My back hasn't stopped hurting for 5 years. It all started when my dog died. And they just will go on the set and you're just kind of like doing the smile eyes and you're nodding and you're just waiting for them to get to the end of the sentence so you can be like, sounds like you need an indica hybrid.
Yeah. Well, that's why they call you guys bud tenders, because you are bartenders who are notoriously therapists.
Yeah, and I feel like bartenders, even though I feel for bartenders when they have to do that, you're at least in a position where you are going to be engaging with this person while they sit at your bar.
Right.
Bud tenders are like, dude, I got stuff to do. Like, I have to keep stocking shit. I have to keep moving. I know bartenders do too, but just the idea of like, you're not really stuck behind a counter. You
yeah,
know
and
what I
there's
mean?
kind of a way too with bartenders. It's like, oh well, I got to get someone else a drink, or oh,
Yeah.
I gotta do this, and like there's a way to kind of walk away and then like come back and walk away with you. You're like helping the person like
It's way
immediately.
you have to get somebody to tag in for you with a customer if you want out, and no one will tag in for you if they can tell that you've got a crazy pants.
They're acting busy.
I had this one lady one time where I knew exactly what she wanted. She was looking for a specific product, and I knew exactly what it was just off of her rough description of it. And she was like, no, I don't think it's that one. And back in my mind, I'm like, it is. We're going to get 50 minutes of this woman telling me anecdotes, like all of these tangential stories, telling me about stuff her kids did. And it's all kind of loosely looping back to these gummies that she's looking for. And I just like, I'm not being rude about it, but I'm just like, I really think you're looking for this. It's a new label. The label changed. I think that's where the thing. So no, I don't think that's it. She finally finds a picture of what she's looking for. It's the old label for that product.
My fucking God.
So I spent damn near an hour of my day with this one customer, and she bought a $12 tin of gummies. I've never, I think it's the only time I ever did it in retail. I went into the back room and screamed. I told my coworkers, like, you're gonna hear me scream in a second. I'm fine. Yeah, and then they just like
ignore me.
You know how loud I am. Like, come back out a second later. They're all just like, damn, dude, you really let it loose, huh?
Was their customers?
No, I mean, they couldn't hear me, but that was they were
because you worked on commission then too, right?
You got tipped out at retail. It's actually it's interesting. They teach you this when you get trained at Best Buy. Best Buy used to be a commission-based pay, and they had to stop it because shit got crazy. Like employees backstabbing each other, stealing customers, like people getting into fights at Best Buy because if you were racking up some big like 10, 12K sale and then somebody snipes it on you, you lose all that commission. So they had to switch back.
Cutthroat.
And it sucks too, because you should be getting compensated in some way for the amount that you're selling.
They're totally salesmen.
I had like a day where I think I wound up selling like almost $100,000 worth of product by myself. And I didn't see a dime of that. What's the motivation? And we were talking about this before we started recording. Anytime I think about getting out of sales, I remember that other jobs don't pay you more for doing a good job. And that just sounds like bullshit to me now.
There's no incentive.
Yeah. What? When I do a good job at this job, they give me more money. That is so hard to walk away from once you get used to it. Because the idea of like going into accounting, it's like, wow, you really burn shit up doing accounting this month. You get an extra 5K. Look at you go. Like, no, that doesn't happen. What? I'm going to do an exactly mid job. Any other thing I'm in that's not sales, unless you've given me bonuses or something.
It's true.
But if you want to motivate employees, just find a way to like give them those incentive bonuses. It works.
I remember when it was COVID, they had us going back. I was a server at the time, and they had us going back like 2 months in, like May 2020. And everyone was getting unemployment. And to keep our jobs, we had to go back in, and we weren't. But to keep unemployment, they could only let us work for so many hours, so we weren't reaching the quota. And so we weren't allowed to make extra. So any of our tips, which was really nice. Like they had us giving the money to the kitchen staff. So like I was happy to do that, but also I just had no incentive to be like a good server, and all because I was just like miserable. I didn't want to be there. We were in masks. It was scary, potentially getting COVID. All of my other friends were sitting on a couch enjoying their life, making the exact same amount of money that I was. And I just had no incentive. And I was like, oh, wow. I always thought I was like a really good employee, but this really puts to the test when I'm not making tips. I am not that great. I'm like the most mid server ever. I'm like, I'm not even cracking a smile. The fuck are you doing at a restaurant in May of 2020?
This is the authentic experience. Yes. You're getting unadulterated shant.
Exactly.
I really felt for you and all of my other friends who were in that position, because I was able to get on unemployment during that first wave of COVID, right? That bad culture job that I was describing. I had left that job like right before COVID started, and I was still able to get on unemployment. I don't know how. That I lucked the fuck out. I really hope the state of California is not listening, because I don't know if they like have ways of getting me on that.
I mean, they just had so much going on. It was like, sure, here,
whatever. Just stay inside.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that they should email the company. This was very, and also there, because he's like, well, I don't know if like the management's telling her to do that. And then me swearing, like, you're not going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
You're not going to ever, like, you have no risk of getting in trouble
Yeah,
here.
you don't
So
work for them.
yeah, exactly. Oh, my swearing was inappropriate. Okay, whatever. So
You're
what if it
banned
was?
from Big Store.
Yeah.
That you can never come back to any
Great.
of them.
I don't want to anyway. Your sales tactics are crazy. So yeah, I say email them, and this woman needs to learn. So hopefully she'll hear that the tactic did not work. All right, shall we move on to the next story?
Sounds good.
So this one is going to be Debate Club.
Oh boy.
And Jake and I are going to take a side and duke it out.
Hell yeah.
I was looking to buy a car from a dealership, and the salesperson that happened to see me first was a very attractive woman that also happened to dress a bit provocatively, not unprofessionally, but I personally considered it too much. I generally don't do well with people who are so attractive. They make me very uncomfortable. But I decided to give her a chance. I told her what I was looking for, and she showed me some models they had available. This whole thing took about 20 minutes until I decided that this isn't a person with whom I want to negotiate to buy a car. So I asked her if it was possible to see someone else to help me. She said that she was working on commission and asked for the reason. I told her that I could understand that and apologize for wasting her time. I don't really want to tell her the real reason why I was asking for the change, so I chose to not answer her question. She said that it's no problem, but that she as a professional would like to know that so that she can avoid repeating the same mistake.
Huh.
I could see no way out, and it was a fair request. So I told her as politely as I could she was too attractive, dressed too revealingly, and that made me uncomfortable with her. I could see that annoyed her, but she chose to take it in stride and said that she'll take that as a compliment. And then she tried to convince me to let her show me some other models. I, however, stood fast and told her that I really would prefer to see someone else and apologized once again. Her face hardened and she said that she'd go fetch someone. But before she left, she looked at me aggressively and told me that I don't have to apologize because this isn't the first and won't be the last time she's losing a commission due to sexism. I realized that the reason I gave her was maybe a bit controversial, but she asked for the truth, and I was very polite and tried not to insult her. But she chose to see sexism for some reason. So I'm going to give you a little trivia question.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll get to decide if you get it right. Okay. Which playwright wrote Death of a Salesman? A, Tennessee Williams, B, Arthur Miller, or C, Eugene O'Neill?
Arthur Miller?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Awesome. Thank God that was multiple choice, because
you're like, that is not coming on the top of my head.
Nah, not going to get that one without that.
All right. Whose side do you want to take?
This is tough.
Oh.
I will take her side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start us off then.
Okay. It is very frustrating as a salesperson to not get told no, but to get told no for reasons that are completely beyond your control. And we can debate like, okay, she's dressing provocatively, but that's so subjective. And like, you could say that I'm dressed provocatively right now, like with my little short shorts and my little hot boy shirt.
I know, you're distracting me.
And if you think someone's attractive, almost anything they're doing is provocative to you, right? So I get why she was super frustrated. And honestly, a woman working on a car lot is probably exposed to sexism so frequently.
Oh, yeah.
And telling a woman, no, you're too hot. I don't want to do business with you because you're too hot, regardless of how like anxiety and like this nervous energy that you think it can come off as bias, and you know it could be interpreted, I'm sure to her, she's probably heard like, yeah, Toots, go get one of the real guys.
Yes.
Go get one of the boys to help me, somebody who knows Kaz, not some hoochie mama with a skirt and his shoes. I'm sure she's heard variations of that through her whole career, so I get why you have this knee-jerk reaction to like,
or
this
men thinking
asshole
that they know more than her.
Yeah.
On
God,
the car
I can't
lot.
even imagine. Like, and I'm sure she can use that to her advantage at sometimes, but I get why she had that response, even though this person is really selling the idea of just like, oh, I'm so shy. I don't know what to do with a pretty person. I don't know. Like, that's that's kind of cute, but I don't think it's as cute as this person seems to think it is. Like, and they're clearly embarrassed about the whole situation. But yeah, I get why she got pretty miffed at that situation. It's shit she's got to deal with all the time.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll give my rebuttal.
Okay.
So I personally understand that feeling of being attracted to someone and then feeling like you can't be your best self or think straight. And so in a high stakes situation where you're about to drop a shit ton of money on a new car, when the person that's selling it to you and that you're supposed to be negotiating with is someone that you can't think straight with, it's going to be so difficult to negotiate to a number that you feel comfortable with. Yeah. And in this case, he's attracted to her. It's unfortunate, but he is. I've had a situation where, like, in acting classes where I've been like really attracted to the person and I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard for me to act around them because I'm so nervous. Like I can barely look them in the eye when we're not in the scene, and now I have to be in a scene with them that I'm like trying to, you know, be their sister or something. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like Greg and Marsha Brady.
Oh God.
Ripping each other's clothes, trying to rip each other's clothes off. So I do understand how he would want to have somebody else who he doesn't have any sort of feeling.
Somebody's not going to steamroll him in the negotiation.
Yeah, because he probably would let her like win a little bit because he's like, maybe trying to like impress her a little bit, like peacock a little bit. Maybe he thinks he has a shot with her. Even if it's not that, but it's just like, well, I don't want to argue with this person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's one of my rebuttals.
I don't think that you're kind of in a hard place, because I agree with you. If you're trying to get the best deal possible that you can on a car, and car lots are a lot different than they used to be. I feel like, you know, I bought my Bronco 2 or 3 years ago. I would have to think about it.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, you would. Yeah. Okay. You're right. 2 years ago. The Bronco's popular. Everybody knows when I got it.
Yeah.
But when I went into there, I basically just like didn't drag out the whole pitch. I knew exactly the model I wanted, the color I wanted, all of that. But when we got to the part to sign the contract, I had gotten the guy to tell me when his next appointment was, and it was in 2 hours. And I basically just said, okay, so I ain't got nowhere to be today. So we could go back and forth or whatever, but I'm not going to leave here until we get to the number that I want, which is here. And whatever you got to do to get that number down, great.
Yeah.
But we don't need to negotiate. I'm just not going to leave.
Yeah.
And that basically sped the whole thing up, because the guy was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I do have an appointment in 2 hours. Yeah. I don't think this dude's leaving.
And also, if you do it now, you can have a 2-hour break. You can chill. You can have some
talk
lunch.
Sports. I don't know. What are you into? You like music? Tell me about it. I don't know a lot about music.
I'm a talker. I got nowhere to be.
So I think that, like, the best way to negotiate is just acknowledge, like, you want to sell me this car way more than I want to buy this car. So what are you going to do to get me out of your hair, basically?
Yes.
But if you are so overwhelmed with attraction to this attractive person, yeah, you're kind of in a hard place. But I feel like you should. I think you can fib. I think you can make up a reason why. If it's really that big of a problem, I'm sorry, you got to take the L. You got to leave. Go to another car lot. Like, just be like, oh no, diarrhea. I have it. And then you just run away to your car. Don't even ask to use a bathroom. Just drive off, because there's no way for you to really save face, where at the end of the day, you're basically telling somebody, I don't want to do business with you because of the way you look. And that is the core seed of what he's saying.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know. I feel like even though you think it is a compliment and it can be taken that way, it is dismissive and kind of shitty to just be told, like, well, you look this way, so I don't want to do business with you. And, you know, you got out of bed, you made yourself look nice to go to this job that is a lot of pressure, and you got to a customer first, which is a huge part of the car lot culture, which is another reason why, like, I'm joking about wanting to do it just to see if I could, because I know it's a very hard way to make a living in sales.
Yes.
But she's doing that day after day after day, and she probably has to put up with shit that, like, you know, is not being detailed here. So I think that you kind of just have to leave if you're going to tell somebody at the car lot, I don't want to do business with that person because they're hot.
Yeah.
Hey, you unattractive guy, get over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's ugly. I'll talk to him.
Yo, schlubby.
Give me this car.
Right over here.
$50. Final offer. I'm not scared of you.
But now my rebuttal again. She asked because she wants to know what she did wrong.
Yeah, but there's nothing she can do. Like, what? Now she's got, like, I guess I gotta make my hair look worse and dress in ill-fitting clothes.
Oh, yes.
Sorry to cut you off.
I do agree with you there. However, for the sake of my debate, is maybe she needs to know that potentially a sales tactic that does work in her favor in other circumstances, i.e. potentially revealing clothing, tight revealing clothing. We don't know. He might be an unreliable narrator and she's just wearing a normal outfit. But let's just say she's wearing a very revealing clothing.
Sure.
Maybe she should know that that actually is not the best sales tactic in all situations. Because I do think, you know, as a woman, I remember one of the sales jobs that I had like 2 years ago was I was trying to get people to sign up for a sports betting app when sports betting became legal in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And I went with like a bunch of girls. We went around to the bars and we were like asking people blah, 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 blah. And, you know, we had to wear like little short skirts and blah, blah. But I went up to this one guy and I was like, oh, would you want to sign up for this? And he's like, oh, no. And he was very dismissive of me. And then like 2 seconds later, this like busty girl was like on his lap, signing him up for it, which I was not sitting on anyone's lap for this. But I definitely was like a little bit offended at first because I'm like, okay, like I'm working on commission. That's really fucking annoying. But then I was like, okay, whatever. Like that's his type, I guess. Like, and it is what it is.
She was engaging in some aggressive tactics there too, where who knows what success rate you might have had if you went with that route, right?
Exactly.
So, damn.
So in some situations that does work, and I'm sure with some men on these lots, it does work, but it is maybe good for her to know that sometimes that isn't the best way to go about it. So she asked and she kept pushing, kept on pushing, asking him. And so, yes, he could have lied. He could have done a white lie. That probably is the better thing to have done.
I have it.
I gotta run. I got the runs. But I do think that it could be a good thing for her to learn, like, oh, okay, well, actually, maybe this isn't always the best way to go because I am potentially making people uncomfortable.
But if your style works, own it. Keep doing it, because eventually, like, even if you have a great approach and a tactic and a system that does right by you, you're eventually going to run into buyers, customers that it doesn't work on. And that's just kind of a calibrated fact of any stylized approach that you take. I have a very subtle, like, I've been told my sales technique is basically making you forget that I'm a salesperson. I barely sell to you. I make you enjoy our time so much that near the end, you're just like, oh, right, I need to buy things from you. What do you have? And it's basically them selling to me at that point because they enjoy the like, I know my territory very, very well. I know what everybody appreciates. And most buyers just want the easiest possible experience. They want minimal contact. They want to know that you're going to take care of them. And they don't want to go back and forth. They don't want a big part of their day to be negotiating with you. If I was in other territories in the state, my style would not work at all. And I'd have to develop something new because a lot of people do want to get granular. They do want to get down to every cent and they want to have that back and forth with you because, right. And I just like, I would figure that out if I had to, but thank God I don't because I'm a very personality driven salesperson. So what she's doing, I think that it probably works more often than it doesn't. And it comes with its own drawbacks, right?
Well, because also, not to give you any extra points here, but is that say this does work for some guys. And, you know, I think that the guys that it probably works on is the guys that are like trying to show off. And
I was just divorced. I want to burn money on a stupid car.
Exactly. So then they're not going to negotiate the price down because they're like, well, I got money to spend,
I'm a big
honey.
Dick boy. I'm a big dick boy with a big wallet that's so fat, and I am very happy, and my kids call me all the time.
A big dick boy. Oh my God, that's so funny.
So yeah, it's a calibrated loss. If you, I think that the responsibility is on, I don't want to say weirdo, is on the peculiar person who short circuits around attractive people. I love their phrasing of, I don't do well around attractive people.
Yeah, I get that, honestly. It can be tough when you're attracted to somebody. Like, for example, a therapist. Like, if I had an attractive therapist, there's no fucking way.
I'm sure there's like 5 Lifetime movies about that exact situation.
For sure.
My hot therapist.
And many, many Pornhub searches.
That's got to be its own like whole faction of that website.
Well, here's another one who's got a point in my favor. They say, as a male who works in a predominantly female clothing store, I would say a good 20% of the women I sell to ask to have a woman serve them because they don't trust my advice as a man, despite the fact that I'm just as qualified and informed on the product as my female coworkers. Many of them aren't polite about it either, but it's not sexist. You just shrug it off. Fact is, you won't sell to someone who doesn't want to buy from you, even if the reason is fucked up.
I don't think that's a 1-to-1 though. Like selling women's clothes is like, okay, you're just as qualified. You're not wearing any of it, I would assume. And the people that they're asking for are wearing it. So they can speak to it at a level that you can't. Everybody's driving a car.
So true.
Everybody fits in a car that you sit in the seat, you turn the key or you press the button, depending on what you have, you press the brake down, and then you pick a direction and you go.
Exactly.
It's not like
women know about cars too.
I might know a lot about sports bras, but I can't tell you how it fits.
Right.
Like I could describe in concept how it might, but I could see somebody just being more comfortable with somebody
asking a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus also like a lot of times when I'm like, and Max usually like if I'm asking him how I look, like, and I'm being genuine, like, does this shirt look weird? Like he is usually pretty good about telling, but sometimes he doesn't have like the jargon to like tell me like how it like doesn't look right or something.
That is in our relationship. Jackie is very stylish, but it's much more minimal than my style. And she's very good at just kind of nailing something with just like a very, very simple outfits, right? But I am very good at detail oriented stuff. I'm good at just like, okay, those earrings set off that on this and that can do that. Where with my much more involved style, I asked Jackie like, what does this look? It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Or I don't like the shirt. That's all I get. And I'm looking for feedback on like, oh, should I go with like a gold ring or a silver ring on this? What about these sunglasses? Just
she's like, no, the shirt's wrong.
The shirt. Change the shirt. The whole thing, like the whole thing. No, just the shirt. Go back to the other shirt.
Well, I wasn't asking that, but okay. Let's read some comments, shall we?
Exciting.
Let's read one for your side. I thought this was a very good point, actually. These are some subjective judgments against her. Quote, provocative and revealing. While professional, I am a full-figured woman and work with a lot of them. We wear those awful uniforms with the patches on the shirts and ugly-ass khakis. There is still ogling. It's hard for some women not to be, quote, provocative. Provocative and revealing in a uniform just means a big bust and bum. I'm an H cup and my friend is an A cup. She has a big bum and I've got more of a V shape with a small one. We will wear the exact same thing and I get told I'm showing off my boobs and she'll say she's showing off her ass in clothes that fit perfectly. It's not about the clothes, it's about what men are imagining under them. Plus, most uniforms are made as unisex / men's, so they will be tight around the bust, bums, hip if you don't go oversized and look unprofessional by doing so. Which, those are all really good points, but I have to say, I don't think she was wearing a uniform.
Yeah, it's probably like most car lots, they've got you in some kind of business, either like suit and tie or like some kind of blazer. Some sort. They do have, there are some car lots now that do like the polos and khakis thing though. Yeah,
you're right. But I feel like he would mention that though, because he says she's a bit provocatively.
I do agree with that comment where my read is like, I think you just think she's hot and she could be wearing a burlap sack under a trench coat and you would still be just like, oh, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
It's so provocative.
It's true. I don't really think that that's fair for, like, it's like, just say you're attracted to her. you know?
There was also probably a way to make it sound like more of a compliment of if you're just like, I'm sorry, you're a powerfully beautiful person, and I don't think I would be able to keep my wits about me in a negotiation with you, so it's nothing against you.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put
just
it.
try to make, like, you really have to put the embarrassment on yourself as opposed to making it any fault of her own. Which, like, I still think it's very silly and kind of adorable in an annoying way. But if you really can't get through even a preliminary sell of a car with somebody that you find attractive, like, I don't know. I think you got to work on that too. You're going to meet a lot of attractive people in your life. You should probably get a hold of that.
That's true. Well, someone here says, I've worked in sales and use this tactic all the time. I promise you, being attractive has gained her more sales than lost. I'm also low-key annoyed that she called that sexism when the actual sexism is the fact that the dealership probably wouldn't hire a woman in sales who is less conventionally attractive.
That last part's a bit of a reach.
Yeah.
I'm with the rest of it. I think that it is sales up until just recently, like the last 2 decades, sales was so overwhelmingly male dominated, and it still is, but the tone is finally changed now where it's not as much of a boys club. And you still find it, don't get me wrong. And I'm saying that as somebody who's working in a industry with a lot of women present in cannabis. There's tons of women driving cannabis, but there's still a lot of boys club. And because of the kind of illicit nature and history of the industry, there is still a lot of very, very toxic spaces that you have to watch out for.
Yeah.
So I always try to advocate as much as I can for everybody on my sales team, but you really do have to keep an eye out for environments that I would say, like car lots, from what I understand, are wild boys clubs. A lot of them are family-owned businesses, which, like, no offense to family-owned businesses, but that is a really easy place to get a toxic culture going.
Yes.
Because mom and dad run the whole thing, and like, oh, their shithead son is right there making sure that nobody else is going to get past him in the line to promotions. So those environments can be really tricky to navigate.
Well, we've got another one for OP's side. You have a right to request a different salesperson. They're designed to try and manipulate you and convince you to make a purchase at the highest price point possible. It's a big purchase, and you obviously need to be clear-headed. And you also, we're not singling her out as a woman, but as an attractive person. I don't know about that.
You could, what you could do if you wanted to go the lying route is just like, I'm sorry, this is nothing against you, but you look exactly like my stepmom who ran over my dog. And it's bringing up a lot of emotions, and it's not your fault. And I know you're not her, but it is making me a little livid looking at you.
Especially like we're surrounded by cars, like car was in the incident.
It's triggering, to be honest. It's triggering. You killed my dog. Like, just go in. You did it. Now I'm mad at you. Now she doesn't want to sell to you.
Yeah. I'd be annoyed to miss out on a commission based on that too. What she's supposed to do, get plastic surgery to make herself less pretty. If you're so uncomfortable around attractive people that you can't make a purchase from one, then you need to get help for that, not put the onus on those around you. There will be a beautiful woman at social events you go to, formal happenings like weddings and funeral, and perhaps the most crucial, your workplace. You can't consistently expect them to undermine themselves in order to cater to you.
That's big time right there at the end.
All right, so write in the comments and let us know who you think won the debate.
I really ripped the rug out from under you taking the ladies' side, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. I could see it on your face.
That was really hard for me to do that, guys.
Had to back up my sales homie.
That's right. All right, let us know. All right, let's wrap this up with a listener write-in.
Listener write-in.
So I, 46M, work as a manager for a product company. We lost our regional supervisor recently, so my boss asked me to pick up the slack and go on a little recon mission to gather intel on one of our smaller competitors. My company isn't doing great, so we could use all the help we can get. And to be frank, I was flattered and honored he asked me to do it. I want to impress my boss. I went there with my coworker, Dwayne, 43M, and we posed as customers to get their client list. I pretended to work at a law firm who needed new office products, and he pretended to be someone looking for a job. When we got there, we discovered it was a family-owned business with truly the sweetest group of people I've ever met. Grandparents with their son and his 8-year-old daughter. They were so helpful to us and even offered to give us their actual client list as a list of referrals for us to reach out to. We thought we hit the jackpot and nearly ran to our car with joy. When I tried driving away in the excitement, I went the wrong direction and ran over a curb. Talk about instant karma. The family came out to help and fix the car. They even brought us coffee as we waited. When we got back to the office, I had a crisis of conscience and didn't want to give the list to my boss. Dwayne says it's survival of the fittest and business of war. He said if that we don't do it to them, someone else will, or worse, someone will do it to us. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not cut out for this whole heartless corporate shark thing. Dwayne all but chased me around the office claiming it's business, not personal. Eventually, I gave in and gave the list to my boss, and he was very pleased with me. I keep replaying it in my head. Their smiles, the coffee, the way they trusted me, and I betrayed them. I'm just hoping that we don't take all of their clients. Is Dwayne right? And did I do the right thing for the sake of my job and our company? Or should I have torn the list up and pretended we never got it?
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me on this is that getting a client list like that is not a guarantee you're going to take the business. You still have to engage in some salesmanship there.
Mm-hmm.
And if these people that you took that client list from are good and they make the lives easier for their customers, you're not stealing them. People need to want to leave their current provider in order to go to the hassle of going through that transition. That's the hardest thing about business to business sales is if they already have a provider, getting them to leave that provider, there already has to be a problem. So you can call these clients and try to suss out like, oh, what are their prices? What are that? But pricing, handshake agreements, like the breaks that they're being given, that's far more valuable information. And you're only going to get that from the clients themselves. Frankly, like in that kind of market, if they're not that big of an operation, you can look around that area and probably suss out who their biggest clients are just by virtue of being in the same industry as them. You're going to know who the whales are just
like
off of like,
if they're not your client, then yeah, it sounds like they probably would be the smaller business.
So I think that I personally do not like engaging in competitive sales, even though it is competitive by nature. I just don't do well with that energy. And I don't think that people respond to me being competitive well. They much prefer I got a lot of energy. And if I'm coming pointed at people and I'm trying to beat the other guy, that comes off really aggressive. So I try to focus entirely on really just making it, I've been alluding to it, but just being breezy, just being like easy to deal with. I don't even worry about the other guy. Oh, the other guy, good for them. They got stuff. I got stuff too. And it's going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think that you're letting your guilt eat you up here a little bit more than necessary because the client list it's just a list of phone numbers. You're still going to have to cold call all of them and try to take their business. And if you can, unfortunately, I don't love this, but that's just the nature of the beast. That operation is not doing everything that client needs.
Right.
And if they value the customer service and the personal touch, then they're willing to pay a little bit more because of the years of business or whatever. Yeah. But if that's not getting it done, then I think that Dwayne is right in this situation and somebody else, the market will determine. I don't necessarily agree with this with everything. Like, have you ever wondered why there's so many toothpaste? Shouldn't one toothpaste have won by now?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, okay, capitalism, best product wins. Why are there 58 fucking toothpastes?
Yeah.
There should just be the toothpaste. That's the best one. So that's not universally true, but in something like this and market-based like that, yeah, the best offer is eventually going to win.
Yeah. I mean, because, they are a smaller business, but it sounds like their business is also struggling, what they were saying. And so it kind of feels like you got to look out for your own job. Also, your boss is asking you to do this.
Yeah.
If you come back without anything. I mean, I guess he could have come back and been like, oh, this is like sort of what we figured out. Their mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
It seems like they're not a threat to us. Like maybe something like that. And not having to like fully give the list over.
Yeah.
But I also see where Dwayne's coming from because it's kind of like, okay, well, this is our jobs. This was our job to do that today. We want to look good in front of our boss. And if our company goes out of business because we're not making more sales, then we're losing our jobs.
It's the nature of the beast, and it sucks. And again, like as far as like scummy business practices go, this is, I mean, you're being very dishonest, and you're lying about who you are and why you're there.
Oh yeah.
Like when I'm scouting a shop, I'll go in as a customer. This is obviously not the same thing, but I'll go in, I'll buy, a thing of gummies, some pre-rolls, and just chat up the bud tenders, just, kind of get a feel for the shop. Nothing too inquisitive, but then right at the end, I call it the Columbo move. Have you ever seen the old TV show Columbo?
No.
There's the old detective who like would be like, very friendly guy, and then it seems like he's not probing at all. And then on the way out, he goes, one more thing, and he turns around and he asks the big question. It's like, gotcha. So my Columbo move is, after winning everybody over as a customer, is like, one more thing. I represent a brand myself, and I pull out my business card and just like, could I get the contact for whoever handles prospective buyers? Because now they've met me, the person, and I'm not hounding them for information. I'm genuinely asking because I'm curious, and I do like the industry that I work in. You got to spend money. If you go in there and you do this without purchasing, everybody thinks you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Can you then write that off?
Not really. That's because I'm purchasing, like, technically my company's
for your
not
own
going
stuff.
to exactly. But I'm never buying anything
crazy. We're not paying to get you high, buddy.
It's a calculated thing for me of just like, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit. I get reimbursed on plenty of stuff. I don't feel like I'm losing out on a ton of money there. You do kind of have to present yourself. I keep going back to like sales techniques. Like there's budding salespeople listening to this, like, this guy's really on the ball.
Hey, maybe they are.
Lying about yourself to get information about a competitor is pretty nefarious. But I wouldn't lose sleep over this.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I
feel like
would never do it. This would be one of those things where if my boss told me to do that, I would be like, no, I'm not doing that shit. Like, you do it then if it's that important.
Do you think there's a way that he could? No, there's not really a way to do it, honestly. Like, you have to
the way that you do it honestly
right?
is you cold call, and you call all these businesses around them, and you do the homework yourself. But you are coming in empty-handed there, where you're running the risk of being that probing salesperson who's asking for information that people probably don't want to share with you. So it will be harder, but that would, I guess, be the ethical way to do it. Again, I just don't think a client list like that is, in this day and age, I don't think it's a smoking gun like this company seems to think it is. Like, there's platforms now where you can just type in a customer, see the entire sales report for any brand and how like any brand's been doing. That's a big part of business support now, are these there's competitive platforms that all offer the same thing, and they try to like get you to see why their insights and their statistics are the most valuable and the most up to date and whatever else. So
do you think that's why this small company was comfortable giving their client list? Because I almost was like, why the fuck would they do that?
It's not really anything. It's not a huge, I guess it could be, in like years ago, back like pre-internet, that would be a much bigger deal, because if before the internet, you're, I guess, using the phone book and a map to try to figure out all these different places. So direct lines of contact in that regard, it's definitely old world business. And it's probably like, I know that not even just my industry, but California in general is a little bit more, a few years ahead of where the norm in sales goes. Like, California was very like, let's ditch the tie before a lot of other places started ditching ties. And part of that's the weather. Like, I feel like no one's worn a tie in Arizona since like 1978.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe I'm also just speaking as somebody who's kind of in a more just like, it's not really how things are done here anymore. And, now I'm pretty sure the only place where they still wear suits for salespeople is like Dallas and New York City. But
yeah, but I'm almost wondering if it's like, just like kind of stupid of them to.
It's silly. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to prove with that. And that's, again, it just comes back to like, I don't think they're running a great operation. If they're, sounds like nice people, but
I know, and how they came out to help fix the car and everything.
Yeah, but that's why it was on The Office. We couldn't help ourselves. We had to do it again. Yeah, this was the Dwight and Michael go shark mode and try to take down Prince Paper. Prince Paper Company, right? That's what it was called?
Yeah, Prince Family Paper.
We would clean up at Office Trivia Night.
Oh my God, I know. We should try and find it.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Well, I made a little update.
Oh boy.
For it too. Well, Reddit, this isn't, well, actually, first of all, I said it was a listener submission. Now I'm saying it's from Reddit, but whatever.
Sorry, did I spoil it too soon?
No,
Did you want to get
it's
through
fine.
that?
No, 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 no. All right, update. This isn't the update I wanted to give, but here we are. It's a few years later, and I finally ended up leaving that company. I needed to look for a new gig and decided to reach out to the family owned company to see if they were hiring. When I called their voicemail, they said how unfortunately they had to go out of business. So turns out we're both out of a job.
I remember that. That little detail was
Like
a
years
nice
later.
touch. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think, and we don't have to get into my complicated feelings about The Office, a show that I know a ton about and am not like super in love with at this point in my life. But I think that a lot of the instances that The Office was pulling from, and it was kind of a theme for the show, was, you know, a dying industry at a time where business as we knew it was changing, right? So I think that this is another instance where the writer's room probably had people who did work in these fields some amount of years ago, and that was more relevant then. But it is kind of interesting that even though a major through line for The Office was a mid-tier paper supplier in a increasingly paperless world, limitless paper in a paperless world, right?
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you can kind of catch their sources dating themselves a little bit, or even I think, you know, 2010, 2011, I'm not sure what a get a client list like that would be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you have the internet. You can just like, okay, this is where their shop is. They have a radius this big. We know this is the area we're not getting any sales in. So which big accounts do we want to get? And then you just go in and you make your pitch regardless of Prince paper, because you know you have more resources and you can beat them on pricing. So you have to make your whole
Shouldn't
pitch
you be
around
doing that anyway to all of your clients around the area?
Yeah, it was a plot line, you know? It's just like the way that I remember the way they did cold calling was always weird in that show too, because I do a lot of cold calling, but then again, like doing it in an industry like that would be a lot more intimidating for me, because you're going to get to a front desk and that's as far as you're getting. Like I can go into the shop and do my thing and win people over.
Right.
I can't, like, you can't just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go check on what's going on up at the office up there. Don't mind me. I'm just a normal guy.
Yes, you're way more uncomfortable, because like for you can just like, if the vibes are off, you can just like pretend you're a customer.
Well, that too. I've dropped into shops before. Like we have one dude on our team whose job is to just like update stores when we, you know, contact them for the first time and just figure out like intel about them and, you know, different things. And I went into this one shop that was by my house, and I spent like 15 minutes on the phone with him trying to get them to add it into our system, and he couldn't find it. And it was this whole thing. I walk into the shop, I call him back immediately. I was like, oh, that's why he couldn't find it. It's a front. That is a definite front for illegal drugs. It was like I went in and they were confused as to why somebody actually came in. They had like 5 jars of weed just in a glass shelf, and that was it. So I was just like,
no way.
Okay, thanks.
And were they like register with like Google and everything? Like you could find them
the business, yeah. But like I could tell as soon as I got to the check-in of like, oh, they're not doing anything the way that they're supposed to be doing it. So this is probably a trap house. And then when I got inside, it's like, not only is it a trap, they are running things out of the back.
Oh shit!
See,
but like selling weed, but just illegally.
Yeah, that's the front. And the front is it's actually crazy how easy it is to run a trap shop in Los Angeles still. I can't speak to other parts of the state, but
some of them are sketchy as hell.
And I don't get too caught up in it, because it's easy to paint like, oh, that's an illegal shop, they're the bad guys, when in reality, like, you need $1 million in the bank just to open up a shop. Like it is rigged from the word go for wealthy people to come into this space that has been a successful and functioning industry for decades. It just hasn't been legal.
Yes.
And now there's the people who built this industry, and a lot of the scaffolding that we are now all currently enjoying. A lot of people are still in prison. They'll tell you, oh no, we released all the people with cannabis charges. No, they didn't. It's like sometimes it'll be extenuating circumstances or whatever. There's still people serving time. I know,
it's fucking crazy. They should all be out.
So I really don't. When I first got into the industry, I was very biased against traditional market. And as I started to learn more about the realities of the industry that I'm in, that I'm benefiting from, that I'm making my livelihood on, I don't feel like it's really ethical for me to ever talk about my role in the industry without giving that a platform.
For sure.
So it is
we
like
appreciate that.
selling weed, selling paper, not quite the same thing for sure. But I think that you're always going to have times in a business where your job is to get a win, and a lot of, not always true, but very often for you to win, somebody else has to lose.
True.
And you have to figure out how to be ethical and how to be proud of the work that you're doing. And sometimes it does take a line in the sand. I've done that before. I haven't really had to do that at my current role, but I have had to do it at previous jobs where I'm not comfortable doing this, and I won't. And if you're good at your job, that's usually respected because people can understand, okay, like you're killing it everywhere else. Fine. You don't want to do it this way. Okay. But you are taking the risk, because if your performance isn't where they needed to be and you're refusing to do part of the job, that will often lead, like, a comfort with sales is you will always find a job. Everybody always needs a salesperson. There's always somebody looking for somebody who knows how to sell. And if you can sell a $250 candle, you can sell anything. Yeah. That's what I've been saying my whole life. So I always say it. So
since you were 3 years old,
there's comfort there, but there's also a lot of salespeople. So you are always kind of expendable. There is always this mentality of like, well, we can find somebody else. So it's a skill set that's really, it's very hard to master, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are pretty good at it.
But then people are always looking for them, you said?
You're always like, you might not every company will always be looking to fill a sales role, but there will always be a company looking to fill a sales role. And it might be a bad job and a bad product.
Yeah, there's a lot of turnover, right?
A lot of turnover. So you can, like, if you need something in the short term and unemployment's not an option or whatever, you can take that rough job for a little bit and still keep that money coming in as much as you might not like it until you find something better. So it's comfort with an asterisk. Like, you can find work. It might not be ideal work. Finding a good role, that's hard. There's very, very few ideal spots out there in any industry.
And then you gotta hustle because you don't usually do hourly, right? As a salesperson. So like which makes sense. I think there is a line in The Office where Pam's like, she's becoming a salesperson. She's complaining about how it sucks that if you're not good at your job, you don't get paid. And then she like thinks about it and she's like, oh, well, actually that kind of makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. I remember that. That's, and that is kind of like, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, we were talking about earlier, it's great when you're doing great and you're getting paid more. That's amazing. But then when you have down months, and you're always going to have a down month, you never, like, the Tom Hanks thing, or it's not a Tom Hanks thing. He just popularized it in that one interview. This too shall pass. Yes. You had the worst day of your life. This too shall pass. You had the best day of your life. This too shall pass. Totally. Say that to myself all the time in my job, because like right now I'm riding high. I'm on a hot streak. I've got a lot of like really, really good wins going for me, but that's following January and February were rough. The fires were half my territory. Oh yeah. So I again, like, great position that I'm in now. Company understood that. They saw that. We're just like, yeah, of course your numbers are down. Yeah, like they're very understanding about it. But the stress that you have when it's not clicking, it's tough. And I had to really work on stress management because I've had jobs like this, but this is kind of a top brand in an industry where there aren't a lot of top brands. So the stress was there for me.
Or like you're going through a period of time where you're like depressed or something like that, and you're like, I don't even feel like I can talk to people right now, and it's like, okay, well, you have to. Yeah, you're gonna be more depressed as you're doing bad at your job.
I've started. I picked it up from the weirdest places. Avatar 2: Way of Water. Jimmy Cameras knocked it out of the park with that one.
Love that movie.
The one of the bad guys in that movie says, well, if you can't get out of it, get through it. And I've started really sticking to that mentality of like, if you just gotta push through. You just gotta, exactly. It's the best way to approach it when you're in that. Cause I've definitely had like down periods in this role, in any role, but this kind of role, you really, especially if your whole technique and persona is this big, larger than life person like mine is, who's just a good time whenever I roll in. I gotta mask up when I put in.
It's a performance. It is. You're using your acting chops.
But normally I do try to be, because people can smell when you're being fake, and so that is kind of, and I think you've seen this with people reacting to me, where when they first meet me, the whole like, Shaky Tuesday thing, is this guy for real? Oh, he is. This is actually what he's like. Like, this isn't a performance. This is the guy. Yes. And people are much more open to me once we get past that initial thing where they're like, are you doing a bit? Are you making fun of me? And it's just like, no, I'm this guy.
It's just me.
I gotta be me.
That's Jakey Tuesday. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Anytime, Shannon.
I so appreciate it.
Let's not let it be 4-5 months again.
I know.
Next time.
We really can't.
Yeah.
We can't. Well, actually, I'm going to see you this weekend.
We are.
So there you go. It's
fantastic.
Already.
Going to a party.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. And remember, you can't spell drama without D.
Good to see everybody.